us this evening. I'm Paul Spires, and I'm going to be presenting today on moving from transactional to transformational leadership. It's a masterclass on behalf of the Purposeful project, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to present today. And over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to deliver a bit of a taster session drawn from the new P&L's Legacy and Leadership program. And what I hope we will achieve together is to give you a bit of a flavour as to what we can all do tomorrow, this week, this month, to start moving ourselves from transactional to transformational leaders. And if you think at any point over the next 30 minutes that you'd like to explore this topic in a little bit more detail, then stick around to the end and I'll outline some options and a special offer for all those watching today. So just a little introduction to me first. I'm Paul, as I said. I'm founder of the new P&L Brand Purpose Institute, which is a culture and leadership development consultancy. And I'm host of the new P&L Principles and Leadership and Business podcast series, which is a top 5 global business podcast focused on how we build a movement for more principled leadership and more purpose-led business. And I'm also a keynote speaker and author on topics around purpose, principles in leadership, and commercial creativity. And crucially for this conversation today, I've been an entrepreneur in one shape or form for most of my adult career. I've been a successful entrepreneur. On occasion, I've been a very unsuccessful entrepreneur. And at this point in my life, in my early 50s, I'm a persistent entrepreneur. So I understand the place that you all are, everyone watching today, everyone listening today. You're on your own road, and I've either been there, or I'm about to go there, or I'm right there with you at the moment. So I understand the trials and tribulations and the opportunities and inspiration and excitement that comes from entrepreneurship very, very well. With the podcast and the Institute, as I said, we're focused on building that global movement for a new P&L for business, one focused on principles and leadership as much as profit and loss. And that's because in business and society more generally, we face seismic challenges right now, and seismic challenges require a seismic shift in the way we think and the way we act as entrepreneurs. But we don't only face tremendous challenges. Within these tremendous challenges lie tremendous opportunities for transformational leaders who embrace a new approach, a new P&L, and then use it to underpin their business culture and their commercial ambitions. So I think it's worth at this point just defining what I mean by transactional and transformational leadership. And there are a number of definitions, all slightly different variations of both. But for ease of understanding, let's go with these definitions, both taken from Wikipedia, but you can find any with a quick search. Transactional leadership promotes compliance by followers, its employees, customers, stakeholders through both rewards and punishments. And I guess the easiest way to think about this term is to use the actual word itself. It's a transaction, something you transact in a moment. And for me, this defines exactly what it is, because it is a short-term action with limited strategic vision or purpose. And many of us do it on a day-to-day basis. Transaction, you want something, you give something. And according to Wikipedia, transformational leaders or leadership is someone who works with teams or followers to beyond their immediate self-interest, their own immediate self-interest. And they identify the need for change. They create a vision and they guide that change through influence and inspiration. And that's what we want to work towards being transformational leaders. And there's another crucial point in the clue and the nuance of the title transformation leader. It's a transformational leader, not a transformed leader, because transformational means it's an ongoing process of transforming, constantly growing, evolving, and embracing change. We never get to be the transformed leader. We continue to strive to get there. And the most complete leaders, the most self-aware leaders, are those who recognize that there is always more to do, that transformation is a constant journey in life. So I want to start with this quote, and I'm not someone who generally embraces quotes, but when I found this quote, it really jumped out at me because it so succinctly sums up the entrepreneurial journey, the transformational leader, and the essence of the new P&L's Legacy and Leadership program. And I don't know who originally said it. Its origins are quite confused, but the sentiment is very clear. And that is that you are the one you have been waiting for. And the reason this phrase or this quote is so crucial to the presentation tonight and for transformational leadership is this. I'm sure most of us on the call today, most of us in business more generally at some point, either as an employee or as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, have wished and hoped at some point that someone else would come along and take the pain away in that moment, so to speak. You know, that the business we've just launched will magically become a success, that someone would magically turn up and give us a huge order, that your boss would magically turn around and say, you're an incredible employee, here's an extra 10 grand. And it's totally natural when times are really hard in entrepreneurship to think like this. And there have been times in my own entrepreneurial career, and sometimes still today as I build the new P&L, that I think when door after door is slammed or promise after promise is broken, I just think, please someone come and take this problem away. Help me, I just need a bit of luck. And of course, people will help along the way. The Purposeful project itself is a really good example of this. But everything, however helpful, ultimately relies on us as individuals to take action, to move towards that luck, to capitalize on it, and to put ourselves in the right place and the right frame of mind to both see the luck that stands in front of us and then embrace it and do something about it. And actually, another really great example of this is the videos the Purposeful project founder Simon Squibb posts on Instagram and TikTok. When he walks down the road and randomly approaches people and says, I'd like to help you start a business. That is luck approaching them. And it's always fascinating to see in that moment that they've been chosen randomly from a group of people in the street, and some respond to it with enthusiasm and some respond to it with fear. So we still have to act on luck. We still have to turn luck into opportunity. We still have to be the ones to take that responsibility, the ones that we have been waiting for. So if you want to take one thing away from this presentation above everything else today, and I hope you take a lot more as we go through it over the next 20 odd minutes, take away this, that the power and the responsibility and the possibility of becoming a great transformational leader in your business is totally within your gift. It's your responsibility, and it ultimately lies with each of us, no one else, to make that step and to become that transformational leader. Because you are the leader you have been waiting for, and you are the solution to the problems you face. And if we want to create a powerful legacy for our business and for that matter ourselves, we can't wait for someone else to create it on our behalf. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So how do we do it? What I'd like to do today is talk about the 4 foundations of transformational leadership that I believe are the 4 foundations for transformational leadership. And it's a beginning to start you thinking about the process for you in your own business to move towards transformational leadership. Think about what those foundations are, and then over the next few days, you can start assessing them, taking action, and transforming the elements of your leadership and your business. So let's start by exploring what I believe to be those 4 foundational elements. The first is self-awareness, because transformational leadership has to be underpinned by a leader who is committed to constantly questioning and improving and enhancing their own sense of self-awareness, committed to be intentional and more present in more moments and more conscious about the effect of their leadership on others. And this is important, of course, for all leaders, but in my view, it's even more important for entrepreneurs for this simple reason, because often entrepreneurs are so passionate about what we're doing, so passionate about our product or service or our purpose and our vision, that this passion can sometimes dull or cloud our sense of awareness in any given moment. So we have to work extra hard at it, stick our head up constantly and away from the business and deeply within ourselves, and understand the decisions we are making, why we are making them, and the impact of these decisions on business, on employees, on customers, and on ourselves. However, and it's a huge however, paradox of the first foundation in this process is that we all think we're self-aware. There was a fantastic stat I read recently from a report where the authors interviewed a few thousand business leaders and managers against a comprehensive set of psychological and managerial self-awareness criteria. And they found that even though the overwhelming majority believed they were self-aware, only 10 to 15% actually fitted that awareness or that criteria of self-awareness. And this is a really telling stat because it demonstrates that lots of work needs to be done for the right foundations for transformational leadership to be set within our business. So self-aware leadership starts with having the courage and the honesty and the humility to question our own abilities, our own qualities, and our own characteristics as a leader. And then we give you two really good examples, or one really good example from the world of entrepreneurship itself. In most startups and most entrepreneurial companies, there are broadly two phases in that business. There's the conceptual launch and initial scaling phase, if you like, where you come up with the idea, you build it, and then you launch it and you scale quickly. And then there's the second phase, the sort of sustained growth, 2 years, 3 years on, where you build that company over time. And some characteristics within entrepreneurs fit the first section. They're great conceptualizers, they're great launchers, they're great scalers at pace. But then other entrepreneurs have the characteristics for the second phase, where they're great at building that business over time. Very few entrepreneurs actually have the characteristics that fit both of those phases of the business. And sometimes entrepreneurs who are great at launching and early scaling, let their egos get in the way of recognizing that they may not be great at sustained growth over time phase, but they can't let it go and they don't let it go. And the business eventually falters because they didn't have enough self-awareness to recognize their own weaknesses as well as their own strengths. So we have to be able to build that self-awareness within us. And it doesn't mean we can't always just do it by ourselves. So to address this, all leaders and entrepreneurs, in my view, really need to be working with someone outside the business, someone other than themselves and their acolytes, someone external, a coach or a mentor or an advisor, but someone outside that business to cast a genuinely self-critical eye on whether they are leading or just managing, guiding or just directing, inspiring or just ego-tripping, courageous or just foolish in their decision-making, empathetic or just demanding, or just contrived, motivating or just demanding, and whether they are having a dialogue with their team, with their employees, with their staff and customers, or whether it's a monologue. And then crucially, when you decide that you are inspiring and courageous and motivating and so on, where is the evidence, the real evidence within that business to support your belief that you were the first and not the second? Because when we all start to collect and analyze the evidence, we often start to recognize where the gaps are between our desire to be a great transformational leader and the reality of where we all are right now. And sometimes that needs objectivity and someone who is not in the business to understand that with you. However, the more self-aware leader cannot be the isolated leader. So we also need a transformational ecosystem. Because I hope you know that the idea of the lone courageous leader is a fiction. Leaders, good leaders, are not superwomen or supermen. They are, you are, we are human beings subject to the same insecurities, worries, indecisiveness, and emotions as everyone else. So leaders cannot deliver transformational leadership by themselves. They need a sympathetic ecosystem within the business to underpin their leadership in the medium term. What does that ecosystem look like? There are 4 core components to a transformational ecosystem in my mind. Intergenerational knowledge tap, and that is that circular knowledge transfer, the turning on of that intergenerational knowledge tap between all generations within a business. And I would also encourage all businesses to have all generations. Critical analysis, an environment where all and diverse voices are heard, listened to, and acted on. A culture of curiosity that is constantly excited by possibility, intrigued by why, and driven by how. And collective courage, a team that acts together with courage and resilience. And given the time constraints of the webinar today, I'm not going to go into the details of what all of these look like in practice, but if you do want to chat about them in more detail, just get in contact with me after the presentation. And it's probably worth saying at this point that there is a totally symbiotic relationship between transformational leadership and that transformational ecosystem. You don't have to have totally transformational leadership to build that ecosystem, and you don't have to have a totally transformational ecosystem to create transformational leadership. Both evolve and feed off each other and thrive off each other. When you evolve, the transformational ecosystem evolves, And when it evolves, you start to flourish as a transformational leader. So the third foundation, we've looked at self-awareness as the first, we've looked at ecosystem as the second, and the third is principled purpose. And purpose should be at the heart of any business. It's why you exist, it's what you exist for, and it is the beating heart of the business that pumps blood to the strategic, the commercial, and the operational arteries of that business. And as such, purpose is one of the most powerful assets a transformational leader has at their disposal. Because what principled purpose offers a business is a robust reference point and the confidence that the leader needs to act with courage when it comes to transforming themselves and that business, because the courageous decisions they make are rooted in their company's purpose. And purpose is also the anchor that offers a reference point for the transformational leader when resilience is needed, such as in a time of crisis like many of us have gone through over the last 2 to 3 years and may continue to. Because you turn back to your purpose in that time of crisis and you anchor and steady the ship while you refocus, reassess, and rebuild that business. So without purpose at the heart of business, the transformational leadership needed to guide that business of the future is built on much more fragile foundations. And then the fourth foundation, I believe, is a powerful legacy. And this really comes back into my own definitions, or feeds back into my own definitions between transactional leadership and transformational leadership. Because if you want to be a truly transformational leader, you need to be building a business that is based on a powerful legacy, transformational, not a one-dimensional legend, transactional. So what do I mean with the difference between a one-dimensional legend and a powerful legacy? Well, too many businesses in my mind and too many heritage stories believe they are building a powerful legacy when in fact they are helping to create a one-dimensional legend. And a one-dimensional legend approach to business, a transactional approach, is inward focus. It is focused solely or largely on the chronological growth story of that business, the legend of the successful corporate story. Single store to global empire. Look what we were, look what we've done, look what we've become. But a powerful legacy, however, a transformational approach to business, is based on how multiple stakeholders, internal and external, feel about that brand as a result of its purposeful approach to business, the difference it is making, the impact it has had on employees, customers, communities, and other stakeholders, the problems it solves, and the challenges it takes on. And of course, this business, the one built on powerful legacy, can also grow from single store to global empire. But the nuance is where you place and contextualize that achievement, what the primary ambition for the business is, whether it's just to transact and grow, or whether it's to transform and flourish. So in short, in my view, the one-dimensional legend business, a transactional approach, is starting from the wrong place. It is starting with acquiring and building, essentially taking from, not serving. But a powerful legacy, a transformative approach to business and leadership, is about understanding your place in the world, the place as a business and a leader and your reason for being there, asking how you can serve, and then leading with an inclusive and shared vision and purpose. And when a business legend is built, a one-dimensional legend, employees just end up contributing to someone else's legend. And this is often the reason for disenchantment and disengagement against employees, because they don't feel part of it. They're just asked to help build someone else's legend. And what's the end result and what's the evidence of that? Well, we saw it over the last few years. One of the phenomenons of the last couple of years has been the Great Resignation. Millions of employees waking up to realize that they are just building someone else's legend. They are just part of a transaction. They are not part of a purposeful legacy, not part of something transformative. So if these are the four foundations that will help us move from transactional to transformational leaders, what do we need next? What do we need to do to take action to become a more transformational leader? Well, I'm going to cover off the 4 areas now that I believe you can take steps in over the next days, weeks, months to start working further towards transformational from transactional leadership. The first is to look at the characteristics of you as a leader. Whatever the size of your business is, however large or small, if you're a sole operator or you've got 50 or 100 or 1,000 employees, I want you to note down the 5 characteristics you believe define you as a leader. And you can take a screenshot of these if you like and start working on these exercises over the next couple of days. Write down the 5 characteristics that define yourself as a leader. Then ask yourself, what is the evidence to support your belief that these are your 5 defining characteristics? Where's the evidence in the business every day? Then what are the obvious gaps and weaknesses? If those are your 5 characteristics, what are you missing as a leader? And then I want you to ask an honest appraisal of 1, 2, or 3 peers in your organization or outside it, and accept the feedback that they give you with grace. What are the 5 characteristics for them that define your leadership? And then I propose you work with a coach or a mentor or an advisor or even a peer, a trusted peer within that business, to build out a 3-month plan that starts addressing the gaps between the leader you believe you are and the leader and the perception of the leader that you are. Where are those gaps? If you're all about purpose, do you have the commercial focus? If you're all about strategy, are you in the day-to-day detail? Where are the gaps that you need to create a more holistic leadership program for yourself? And then the second is again to look across the business. And you have intergenerational knowledge tap, culture of curiosity, critical analysis, collective courage. I would invite you to select one of those elements at this point and list 3 things you do or you don't as a leader that result in inhibiting the flourishing of that component you've chosen. So if it's knowledge tap, if it's curiosity, if it's analysis, if it's courage, what are the 3 things you are currently doing or not doing that result in inhibiting the flourishing of that thing that you've chosen? Be honest, be fair, and list all 3. And then start to build out a 30-day plan that aims day by day to minimize the actions that you take that inhibit that component in that moment every day. Because all of this is about milestones and momentum, bringing these things to the front, being conscious of them on a daily basis, reverting to your plan, and then acting on those plans. And then the third is to revisit and align your business's purpose. We all had a passion and a purpose when we started this business or when we came into a business as a leader, what we wanted to achieve in those first 100 days, how we would change the business, how we would build the business, whatever it happened to be. But I want you to take a step back again and ask, why does your business exist today? And is the purpose that you have in front of you still relevant today? How could you evolve it from what it might have been 12 months, 2 years, 5 years ago? And does it still resonate with you? Does it still inspire you? Does it still drive you? Because as a leader, if it's not driving you, you need to find that purpose within that business that does drive your motivation and your strategic vision for the future. And then ask yourself how that purpose is demonstrated and delivered in your business every day. Is your purpose and your commercial strategy in alignment? Because if it isn't, if your purpose sits over here and your commercial strategy sits over here, then we know what will happen tomorrow. Everyone focuses on the commercial strategy. So we have to work coherently, collaboratively with your team to pull that purpose and that commercial strategy together so it underpins it, doesn't work against it. And then finally, the legacy. Does your business take or serve? Are you a business that is just trying to take transactions from customers, or how are you serving them? And what actions do you take as a leader within your business every day to reinforce a transactional approach to your business rather than a transformational approach to your leadership? How can you change that? How can you focus more on transformation than transaction? And what is the legacy that you want to create for you and your business? What is the 5-year, the 10-year legacy? If you were to sell that business, move away from that business, step out from that business, what is the legacy that you want to create? What do you want to leave that business as, and for the perception for people to have of it? And then where is the evidence in the business on a day-to-day basis that you are delivering on that legacy, that you are creating that legacy? We need to build in the milestones to check in on it over the next month, over the next year. And these are things you can all do over the next week. There are 4 steps here, 4 different elements that you could start one each day over the next week, and then maintain that consistency with the plans you have built. So at the start of the webinar today, I talked about you and each of us being the one we've been waiting for in our businesses and in our lives and generally. So I'm going to ask you today, what are you putting off? What are you failing to change? What do you know you should be doing but you're not addressing? What is the one thing that you haven't called, that you haven't made, that you could make? What is the one conversation that you need to have that you haven't? What is the one opportunity that you haven't jumped on? What is the one issue that you haven't addressed? I would invite you, when you get off the call today, when you get off this presentation, to address one of those things today, to demonstrate to yourself immediately that you are the one, you are the leader you have been waiting for. Choose one thing you've been putting off, waiting to change, knowing that you haven't taken, call you haven't made, conversation you haven't completed, opportunity you haven't jumped on. One thing. It could be the start and the beginning of a powerful transformation, one action at a time for you and your leadership. And just before we finish today, I want to briefly introduce the new P&L Legacy and Leadership Program, which a lot of this information has been drawn from. It's aimed at entrepreneurs and senior leaders and managers, and it draws on all of the wisdom from the new P&L podcast, our mantra principle, which is our proprietary leadership framework, and the curated knowledge and wisdom of global business leaders that we have spoken to on that podcast. And we offer a range of workshops, one-to-one leadership mentor programs, generally 3 months or 6 months. Next year in January, we're launching our monthly Mantra Mind program, which is similar to obviously a mastermind program, bringing together a small group of people each month to start building on their legacy, building on their transformational leadership. And at the beginning of next year, we're also going to be launching our 2-day intensive exclusive summit. Drop me a line at Paul at Principles and Leadership if you'd like to connect. And as a special offer for the Purposeful Project participants today, I'm also offering 10 free 30-minute legacy and leadership consultations to the first 10 people who email me at paul@principlesandleadership.com and just put the Purposeful Project in the subject line. And I'll offer 10 free 30-minute legacy and leadership consultations for any entrepreneur watching who's interested. So that's it for me today. Please, I invite you to connect with me. Listen to the new P&L Principles and Leadership podcast. It's available on all major streaming platforms. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Join the newsletter by going to the website, principlesandleadership.com, and join the company page on LinkedIn as well, Principles and Leadership. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to listen. I know it's dark out there at the moment, and people are probably keen to get out and get out there for dinner. So thank you. And that's my dog barking right on cue. Thank you so much for the time, and thank you to the Purposeful Project as well.
Thanks so much, Paul, and for all the knowledge you just gave to our community. So you can hear my dog barking now in the background. But the recording will be up tomorrow on YouTube. And if you have any questions, you can email Paul directly. And thank you so much for your offer for our community. It was an incredible masterclass. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.